Welcome back to the show. Now, there is big news around this morning that a sniper involved in the Sydney Lint cafe siege is suing the New South Wales government after they weren't allowed to take out man monitors during the siege. He claims that it could have saved the lives of Tori Johnson and Katrina Dawson. When it comes to tense situations, hindsight, of course, as we discussed, is 2020. And one woman who knows a lot about what these hostage negotiations are like is police negotiator Belinda Neill, and she joins us on the couch now. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having
me. You weren't there, of course, during the Lint cafe siege, but can you give us a little bit of insight as to what police and hostages might have been facing during that standoff?
Look, the Australian guidelines are, the national policy is contain and negotiate. So it is a very serious situation. As we saw, the results of the Lint cafe siege were just awful, traumatic for police involved, but also for the victims' families and for the other hostages involved. So my concern in relation to this particular sniper who was involved is he was traumatised psychologically. I'm here in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder today, and I'm a very big believer in early intervention for both police and everybody in terms of post-traumatic stress to minimise and prevent those symptoms. Hostage situations can be very, very stressful from all involved. I was involved in one hostage situation which did affect me in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder, and that was a situation where an ex-boyfriend had hold of his partner with 2 knives held against her neck. Jeez. And he was superficially stabbing her while we watched. Oh, wow. That was a very, very difficult situation, and it was far too dangerous for tactical police to actually enter and arrest him because he could have killed her. So these situations are traumatic, but for police officers involved, they're actually trained. Tactical police and negotiators are trained for these situations, and they do over 300 high-risk incidents every year.
How do you talk someone off the ledge, so to speak? How do you talk to somebody who has seemingly lost their mind and has someone else's life in their hands?
Okay, that's a really interesting question, because I used to be involved in debating and public speaking. I became a negotiator because I thought I was a great talker. But the number one skill of a hostage negotiator is our active listening. Right. So we are listening. We want to hear the story, why the person is there. We treat everybody with respect. And the interesting thing for me, in over 150 high-risk incidents that I went to, the majority was suicide intervention. Yeah. Right. In 80% of those suicide interventions, the person said to me, "You are the first person who really listened to me." Wow. I think that's a tragic state of affairs. I think we need to all use our listening skills.
When you've got a situation with hostages, are they your priority?
Absolutely, they are our priority. In the situation that I was involved in, the safety of the hostage was paramount. After the hostage was released, the safety of the perpetrator is paramount. I know that seems very unusual, but our job is to save lives and the peaceful resolution of any incident.
Were you ever in a situation where you had snipers standing by with a clear shot? Is that kind of part of the protocol where... Because you see it in the Hollywood movies, right? You've got a clear shot, take him out now. Does that actually happen in real life?
Look, it really depends on the situation. Every situation is different. The situation that I've been talking about, we were in a house. So it was very difficult for snipers to be able to take a shot in that instance. But the Lint cafe siege, of course, you're going to have snipers involved in that sort of a situation.
What is the threshold for when you make the decision and say, all right, this person's not coming back, if you like, or we're not getting through to them? The only way we can... I mean, it must be so difficult to make that judgment. We think this person is about to harm or kill someone, we need to take them out, or we still think we can turn this person around. Is there a test, or is there certain things that need to be met for you to make that call?
Every situation is different. There's a lot of discussions between negotiation team leaders, tactical team leaders, and we also use psychiatrists who help us with our strategies. There's always going to be a separate strategy depending on the situation.
Right. Belinda, when you started, you would have been warned about, you know, some of the potential issues that you might face as a negotiator. Is it more difficult for you as a woman to deal with these issues in the police force or coming out of the police force, talking about PTSD, talking about some of the confrontational issues that you faced in your career?
Look, I think it was, in terms of being a police woman, I think sometimes it is more difficult because you're not seeing the men cry. You're not seeing them suffer. So therefore, we're trying to be stoic and be like them.
So you bottle it
However,
in even more? Do you think you suppress that even more?
Sometimes you can internalise that more. That's exactly right. So we really need men to speak up, but as a female, I'm more likely to talk about it. So in this situation now, I'm more than happy to talk about my symptoms. You know,
And what are they? What are those symptoms?
Okay, well, I had a horrendous time. When my children were born, I was having horrendous nightmares, flashbacks, intrusive thoughts of them being stabbed or murdered in their beds. I was hypervigilant, I was irritable. I had my little 5-year-old son say to me, "Please, Mummy, don't be angry all the time." And that, as a parent, kills you. I couldn't take them to the park because I was too busy looking out for kidnappers or pedophiles. So it was horrible. I got to a stage where I ended up wanting to take my own life. But the beauty of that is now, at that particular point, I finally accepted I had a problem. And with acceptance, that's when you get the ability to receive the right treatment. And I've had some wonderful treatments, psychotherapy, breathing exercises, timeouts. When I say to my children, "Mummy needs a timeout," I think all children know what that is.
Can I ask, have you ever lost a hostage or a perpetrator or a suicide case, and how do you process that? How do you sort of deal with the fact? I imagine you must be tortured by questions and a sense of responsibility.
I've been very fortunate. I've never lost anybody in over 150 incidents, but I have had friends who have been in that situation. The hostage situation that I was involved in, she was injured, quite severely injured, stab wounds to her body. What I do remember in terms of my own flashbacks, I will never ever forget the look of terror on her face and feeling helpless in the sense that I could do nothing but talk. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah,
Yes.
can I imagine?
You're here for the Fearless conference that's happening in Sydney. Can you tell us about that?
I'm very, very excited. I'm a board member of Fearless, fearless.org.au. What we're running is our first ever conference on the Sunshine Coast in August, 21st, 23rd of August. And what it is, there's 1 million people in Australia who suffer from PTSD, over 3 million families who are affected by this. There are 3,500 different organisations doing things in relation to PTSD, but we're not talking to each other. So we're trying to bring together these groups to talk to each other, and we're really looking forward to this conference. It'll be lived with experience speakers, medical research, families who are going to come together. So we basically want anybody who wants to know anything else about post-traumatic stress, or you want to have your say. We're also looking at a national management protocol, workshopping that at the conference as well. So it'll be very exciting.
You are such an impressive woman, Belinda, and I love as well that you're a mum. Did that come in handy when you're trying to get the kids to eat the greens? Because I feel like I need a hostage negotiator at my house most nights.
Yeah.
Can
I
I
could have
say-
used your IKEA yesterday.
Sometimes it's been easier seeing an angry man than what it is negotiating with teenagers.
Oh, teenagers, God, that's all coming up as well. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you in person on the couch.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.